Every single day, more than 300 million people around the world open one application, settle into their couches, and press play. They watch dramas, comedies, documentaries, films, live sports, and reality competitions, all delivered instantly, without commercials interrupting at the worst possible moment, without driving to a store, without rewinding a tape, and without paying a single late fee. This is the world Netflix built. But the untold truth behind how this company went from a two-man idea discussed during a daily car ride to the most powerful streaming platform ever created is a story packed with unlikely beginnings, near disasters, bold gambles, and decisions that permanently change the way the entire human race consumes entertainment. And it all started, as so many world-changing ideas do, with a very simple question asked between two people who were simply trying to figure out what to do next. Reed Hastings and Marc Randolph were colleagues at a software company called Pure Atria in Sunnyvale, California. Every morning they carpooled together from their homes in Santa Cruz to the company's offices, and during those daily drives they talked about business ideas. Randolph had always wanted to build his own startup, and Hastings, who had recently sold his previous company, Pure Software, in a merger for approximately $750 million, had both the money and the appetite to back one. They tossed dozens of ideas back and forth during those morning commutes throughout 1996 and into 1997. One of the concepts that stuck was the idea of an online rental and sales service for DVDs. The DVD format had only just been introduced in the United States in early 1997, and the two men recognized immediately that DVDs had something VHS tapes never had. They were light, thin, and small enough to be mailed through the postal system without being damaged. To test this, they mailed a compact disc from their office to Hastings' home in Santa Cruz. When the disc arrived completely intact, the idea was confirmed. They had found their business. On August 29, 1997, Netflix was officially incorporated in Scotts Valley, California, with Hastings committing $2.5 million of his own money as the initial investment. You may have heard the famous story about how Hastings came up with the idea for Netflix after paying a $40 late fee for returning the movie Apollo 13 to Blockbuster. Hastings himself later acknowledged that this particular story was more of a compelling narrative that was used to describe the company's founding than a precise account of events. The actual origin was the conversations during those carpools. But what is absolutely true is that the problem Netflix was designed to solve was very real. Blockbuster Video, at its peak, had over 9,000 stores across the United States and made enormous amounts of money by charging customers late fees for returning rentals past their due date. These late fees were deeply unpopular with consumers, and nobody had yet built a service that offered an alternative. Netflix would become that alternative, and it would eventually outlast Blockbuster entirely. Netflix launched its website, Netflix.com, in April 1998 as the first DVD rental and sales site of its kind. The company started with 30 employees and a library of 925 titles, which represented nearly every DVD that had been published at the time. The initial model was a paper rental system, similar to what Blockbuster offered, but delivered through the mail. However, the real revolutionary move came in September 1999 when Netflix introduced a monthly subscription plan, a flat monthly fee that gave subscribers unlimited DVD rentals with no due dates, no late fees, no shipping charges, and no per-title rental fees. By early 2000, the company had dropped the per-rental model entirely to focus completely on the subscription approach. This single decision, the elimination of the late fee and the introduction of the flat-rate unlimited model, was the idea that would define everything that followed. It told the customer, "We trust you, we respect your time, and we believe you will find enough value here to keep paying us every month." Customers responded with loyalty that Blockbuster could never match. Netflix went public on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange in 2002, raising $22.5 million through its initial public offering. In 2003, the company posted its first full-year profit. These were important milestones, but the company's position was not yet fully secure. Blockbuster, recognizing the threat, launched its own competing online DVD rental service in 2004 and began cutting into Netflix's customer base. There was a period when it genuinely seemed possible that the retail giant with its 9,000 physical stores and its recognizable brand could crush the online upstart. But Blockbuster was already carrying enormous debt, and its internal leadership was divided about how aggressively to invest in its digital future. Netflix, operating entirely online with no physical retail overhead, was leaner and faster. The competition eventually broke Blockbuster, which filed for bankruptcy in 2010, while Netflix had already moved on to something that made the DVD rental business look small in comparison. In January 2007, exactly 10 years after the founding of the company, Netflix launched a video streaming service. At the time of launch, the streaming library contained only 1,000 films, compared to the 70,000 titles available on DVD, and the technology required a reasonably fast internet connection that not every home had access to. But Hastings and the Netflix leadership understood something that most of the entertainment industry had not yet grasped. The future of video entertainment was not physical media. It was not discs or tapes or anything that had to be manufactured, stored, shipped, and returned. It was data. It was digital files delivered over the internet, available instantly at the press of a button, without waiting days for a red envelope to arrive in the mailbox. The streaming service was initially offered for free to existing DVD subscribers. The company's stock dropped 6% when the announcement was made, as investors worried about the cost of supporting both a streaming and a physical rental business simultaneously. But within a few years, it became clear that the streaming side of the business was not just a supplement to the DVD service, it was the entire future. The road to streaming dominance was not without serious turbulence. In 2011, Reed Hastings made one of the most controversial decisions in the company's history. He announced that Netflix would be splitting into two separate services. The streaming service would remain under the Netflix name, while the DVD by mail service would be spun off into a new company called Quickster. Customers were furious. The announcement was met with a tidal wave of cancellations and public ridicule. The company lost approximately 800,000 subscribers in a single quarter, and its stock price collapsed by more than 70%. Hastings reversed the Quickster decision within weeks, issuing a public apology and acknowledging that the plan had been a mistake. The near disaster was a painful lesson, but the company survived it and came out more focused than ever on streaming as its singular priority. The next great leap came from a decision that would permanently separate Netflix from every other company in the entertainment distribution business: the investment in original content. In 2012, Netflix debuted its first original series, Lilyhammer, streaming it simultaneously across multiple countries and languages, the first time the company had ever done something like that. It worked. In 2013, Netflix released House of Cards and Orange is the New Black, two original productions that became genuine cultural sensations, earned critical acclaim, and won multiple Emmy Awards. The entertainment industry suddenly realized that Netflix was not just a distributor of other studios' content. It was a studio in its own right, capable of producing shows that competed with the best that Hollywood and television had to offer. In 2015, Netflix released its first original feature film, Beasts of No Nation, and in 2016 the company executed a massive global expansion, launching its service in 130 new countries essentially overnight, making Netflix available in virtually every part of the world. By 2017, Netflix had crossed 100 million subscribers globally, a number that confirmed its status as the dominant player in streaming. The company continued investing billions of dollars per year in original content, creating beloved series like Stranger Things, The Crown, Squid Game, and Wednesday, as well as original films and documentaries. In 2021, Netflix received more Academy Award nominations than any other studio in Hollywood, a milestone that announced to the entire film industry that this company, which had started by mailing DVDs in red envelopes, was now the most powerful content creator on the planet. In 2020, Ted Sarandos, the creative executive widely credited with building Netflix's original content strategy, was appointed co-CEO alongside Hastings. In January 2023, Reed Hastings himself stepped down from the co-CEO role, transitioning to executive chairman, passing the operational leadership of the company he had co-founded to Sarandos and Greg Peters. And on September 29, 2023, Netflix shipped its very last DVD, officially closing the red envelope chapter of its history after 25 years. The numbers that Netflix reported for the fourth quarter of 2024 told a story that would have seemed impossible back in 1997. During that single quarter alone, the company added 18.91 million new subscribers, a record-breaking figure, bringing its total global subscriber count to 301.63 million people. The company's quarterly revenue reached $10.2 billion. By the end of 2024, Netflix had 70 million ad-supported tier subscribers, had streamed the Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson boxing match, which became the most streamed sporting event in history, and had delivered the two most watched NFL games ever broadcast on any streaming platform on Christmas Day. The company projected full-year 2025 revenue of between $43.5 and $44.5 billion. And then, in December 2025, Netflix announced an agreement to acquire Warner Brothers. Discovery for $72 billion. A deal that, if completed, would give the company ownership of one of Hollywood's most iconic film and television libraries and transform it into a media giant unlike anything the entertainment world had ever seen. From a CD mailed across California to test whether a disc could survive the postal system, to a 300 million subscriber global empire that is rewriting the rules of Hollywood itself, the story of Netflix is the story of what happens when a small idea, built on the simple belief that people deserve a better and more respectful way to watch the things they love, is pursued with absolute commitment, radical reinvention, and the courage to bet everything on the future before the future has fully arrived.